Alrighty, so welcome Joshua to this grad panel today. I'm super excited to speak with you. So as of right now, we don't have any questions just yet. So people, if you want to start asking questions in the chat, please feel free to do so. Before they do that, I do want to ask you to tell me a little bit about yourself, what you were doing before joining Avocademy,
Hello,
and
so it
what
seems
you're
like John is
currently doing
actually out
now.
of the office at the moment. Could I either take a message or give you his email to contact him?
Please mute your mics. That would be awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, good. So hello, everyone. My name is Josh. A little bit about my background. I've kind of been all over the place, but originally went to college for pastry. So I was a pastry chef for a few years. And then after a few years working in the pastry industry and the kitchen environment wasn't really like my cup of tea, and finding out kind of like the kitchen environment was kind of toxic and it was just somewhere I wasn't really happy to be. I actually got into operations working for Lyft here in Las Vegas. So I was an operations specialist running different programs for the rental program that we had here. And then I left there to pursue another operations role, but then that fell through. So I had to kind of get back into work. And fortunately enough, I was able to leverage my pastry degree to get back into pastry here in Las Vegas. There's a ton of casinos and restaurants, so I had a lot of options. I worked for a milk bar for a little bit until the pandemic shutdowns, which forced me to kind of go in a different direction within the same company. So I was in supply chain as well. So pastry chef, operations specialist, supply chain analyst, and then now UX designer.
That is amazing. I love the fact that you've tried a little bit of everything and then that just kind of like dove you into UX and UI design because
Yeah,
there's so many similarities. Like if you think about it, like there's so many
that's
similarities.
that's actually part of my pitch when I was doing the interview process was
Really?
I'm creative and I'm also analytical, and UX design kind of has like both of them. So, and that was kind of something I was leaning on heavily when I was interviewing.
Yeah, recruiters love to hear that when you leverage your background, like they love it. They're like, okay, so this person understands what
Oh
UX
yeah.
and UI design is. So that's really cool that you did that. So one of the questions that I'm going to dive into right now is about timeline, about how long it took you to go through foundations and then Career Jumpstart, and then how long did it take you to complete it? And before we dive into that question, I'm gonna explain a little bit about both. So people that are joining us to have a little background on both Foundations and Career Jumpstart. So for Foundations is our step one program. It's our educational course where you learn UX research, UX design, UI design. You get to build one project, build your portfolio website. We help with resumes, and we also provide unlimited mentorship with senior designers on Zoom. And you also get Slack support. We have a community that is very, very active. So you'll get to post activities there, get feedback as well, and also network a lot. Once you complete foundations, you get certified and you receive a badge that you can put on your LinkedIn profile. And then you'll be able to apply to Career Jumpstart, where we essentially help you complete a portfolio with real experience in the field. You'll get a chance to work with startups, nonprofits, and collaborating teams with other designers. And then we navigate you through the job search. And it's super fun. I've heard lots of great stories about Career Jumpstart and the community that comes from it. So with that being said, feel free to tell me a little bit about how long it took you with both.
Yeah. So I started the beginning of 2022, I think around February. I can't really pin the date, like February 7th, I believe. And then I was actually one of those that kind of went through it quickly because that's just how I wanted. I wanted to complete as fast as possible so I can get to the job search as fast as possible. So I think I finished it within like a little over a month and a half. So I think it was like end of March. And then I jumped right into Career Jumpstart right after. For Career Jumpstart, I think the first month and a half, I was doing two projects. And then I took on a third project because I wanted to beef up my portfolio a little bit. But in total, the CJ timeline for me was around 6 months that I was in CJ, because after I got done doing the real work experience, I had to fix my portfolio, get the interview practice in, and start interviewing. And that interviewing part and sending out the application part was the longest part, and going through all the rejections and all that stuff and all the different interviews took the longest for me. But yeah, I would say Career Jumpstart foundation was a month and a half, and then Career Jumpstart was around 6 months that I took. Yeah,
that's pretty awesome. A lot less than a year.
yes,
Half than a year to fully
yeah.
transition into UX and UI. That's pretty cool. And hi, Imelda, how are you?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear
Okay,
you
great.
perfectly. So
Awesome.
thank you for joining us today. I'm excited to chat with you.
Thanks for having me.
So we did get started a couple minutes ago, too long ago. But I did want to begin by first asking a little bit about yourself, what you were doing before enrolling into Avocademy, what you're currently doing now, and what your timeline looks like with foundations and Career Jumpstart, how long it took you to complete both. But yeah, sorry if that's too many questions all at once.
That's okay. I'm super excited to be here with everyone. Wow, what was I doing before Avocademy? I was actually a full-time stay-at-home mom. I have a 4-year-old daughter. Her name's Carrie Esther. I'm obsessed with her. When I had my kiddo, prior to having my kiddo, I was a QA analyst, actually for a government agency, and I worked my way up in my career for many, many years. But then whenever I had my kiddo, I just wanted to spend time with her, and I did for the first 4 years of her life. So there was a huge transition for me from going from the workforce and then just being a stay-at-home mom, which is definitely a full-time job, 24/7, but definitely it's a totally different life than being inside of a corporate and just having those day-to-day interactions with stakeholders and colleagues, and just it's a different world, right? So being away from the workforce for many years, I really needed to just kickstart my career again. And that's when I came across you guys. And to me personally, it was just a very wonderful way of getting back to the workforce. I actually do have a background in software engineering as well. So I did get a background on that. But that was not something that I really wanted to focus on before joining you guys. I had actually, Hello? Sorry,
No,
someone has a question?
I think somebody unmuted themselves by accident. So
Okay,
sorry
not a
about the
problem.
interruption.
I thought it was the question. Not a problem. So yeah, I had just discovered my passion for design while I was working for that government agency, as I was saying, but it was very minor designs here and there, nothing very robust. So that's what led me to actually get my degree in software engineering, but it was really my passion for design. So software engineering and UX, UI they come in hand, but two different worlds, absolutely. But there again, right, to step back into the workforce, as I was saying, for the UX, UI, I didn't have the quote unquote experience. I understood the code, I knew how to code, but not as a UX, UI designer. So I found you guys. And wow, it has been definitely a world changer, which is why I'm here. I really feel that I'm very in depth with you guys. It was completely a transformation for me from being a stay-at-home mom, going back to the workforce. As far as my length, I think that I can get there. I think it took me roughly 6 months to complete the foundations and then Career Jumpstart. And the only reason why is because, once again, before my kiddo was 4, I couldn't do anything with her. It would take me so long. I was like, oh my goodness. But as soon as she turned 4, that's when she started giving more breaks. So I literally took it. I had the opportunity to take it as a full-time job. So even me thinking that I was doing 30 hours a week or so, I would just I would try my best to do it from Monday through Friday from like 8 to 3 or 8 to 4 or so on. Some days I would do more, some days I would do less. It was just flexibility. But yeah. Did I
That's
include
awesome.
all the main questions you want me to answer?
Yeah, so what does your work-life balance looks like as a UX UI designer? And you can kind of compare it also to working within engineering as well.
Yeah. So my work balance is, wow, it's pretty hectic. It's pretty hectic, to be quite frankly. When I first transitioned into UX UI, the way how it actually took like 6 weeks for me to get hired. But I would have to share this because I feel that there's like a misconception many times as far as like, some people might feel like, wow, you got hired like super fast. I've been job hunting like for 3+ months. And I do believe that there is like a different case by case. There's so many areas that we could all improve on. There were so many, as far as like presentation skills that I could improve on and so forth. But what I really, really want to share about my particular specific case is that I was really hustling when I was doing these job hunting, sessions. Like it wasn't just a 10 application that I would submit every day. I think that at Career Jumpstart, they give us like a goal. I don't remember the goal, but I think it's like 300 applications a month if I'm
Like
if I don't remember.
160.
Like 160. Okay.
I'm like, no,
That's what
300.
she was doing.
I was doing about 600 of them. I really was. I took it very, very seriously. So within the span of like 6 weeks, I had like 10 solid interviews. Solid meaning that because many of them, it was like a 2-round, 3. I had one specific company that I literally went like 4 rounds with. So it took the entire 4 weeks or 5 weeks just for them to give me an offer. So I did have multiple offers, but I really want to say it's not just because I had 100 applications, it wasn't because of 200. I literally I stopped counting like after 400 applications. So that just gives you an idea. I did about 600 plus. So the more I would apply to, the more chances I had to be contacted. So yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Josh? Like, how does your work-life balance look like compared to how it was before now that you're in UX and UI?
Night and day, complete night and day. Honestly, my past jobs, all of them required like hectic hours. My operations job, I was salaried also, but it was the kind of job where I always had to be on all the time and had to be available. For the pastry job, it was like odd hours. My weekends were like Wednesday, Thursday. My first shifts were like 3 a.m. to 11 a.m. And yeah, then going into here, I guess I had like trauma because when I started, I was like, so when I put in time off, like, do I have to request it in advance? My manager's like, if you have the time off, you should just put it in. I'm not gonna say no. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. And then she emphasized in the beginning when I first started was, as soon as you're done working, stop working, like close your laptop and step away from your desk. And then in terms of just like working during the day, she made it abundantly clear that, some days you're going to come in 150%, some days you're going to come in at 40%, and that's okay. You don't have to come in at always 150%. We have enough people in the team that we can pick up the work if you're going to miss it. And like, yeah, I think this is the first job I've ever experienced actual work-life balance. Previous jobs have mentioned it, and they try to stick to it, but they're just like so many goals to meet that that goes out the window so quick. But I'm definitely grateful to land this job in UX UI, because I definitely feel like I have that work-life balance finally, and I can have control of like my life, and I can do what I want when I want, and I'm not consumed by the work. So
Yeah, definitely. I hear that a lot within UX UI designers. Like you get to really like manage your schedule in a way. Like as long as you're joining your meetings and doing your tasks, then
yes,
you're
exactly.
good.
Exactly.
So That's really awesome. And can you both speak a little bit about your journey coming from foundations to Career Jumpstart, how that process was for both of y'all, and any tips for design challenge, for the design challenge? I'm guessing for the Career Jumpstart design challenge. I don't know if y'all did that application because that's fairly new.
Yeah, I think that actually came after I had finished it. So I don't have experience on the design challenge. And I think when I went from foundations to CJ, it was just like hey, I like to join CJ, and then you would get put into CJ. And I think after is when the design challenge was implemented. So I can't really speak to that.
What
Yeah.
about you, Imelda?
Honestly, for me, I think there was like a minor design challenge, but it was a Figma challenge that I had to do. Not
Mhm.
sure if you did it, but that was basically the design challenge. My best tips for me, I knew that I needed CJ right after the foundations course. The reason why it's because I've done so many self-taught courses. Even on my software engineering program, I literally started on my own at first. I did find a lot of treasure. One of the things that I really wanted to get before going back to the workforce was having that interaction with different colleagues and getting that sense again. I mean, being a stay-at-home mom after so many years, I kind of felt that I had lost that, interaction with others. I guess that professionalism to it, if you want to look at it that way. I was like, wow, I've been, doing chores, like, hey, it's work, it's real life, right? But now I have to like go back into meetings and being able to hold those type of conversations with people. I'm just being as honest as I can be. I hadn't done it for a while and I really needed that. So for me, CJ was really no exception. I knew that the foundations course had given me so much richness,
Mm.
and I knew, but CJ, I was looking for it more like an internship kind of thing, and where I could actually work and interact with the other colleagues before job hunting again. Keep again, a lot of people were like, whoa, but you have a software engineering degree. I mean, I've done, I did a lot of freelance work as well. Like I did web design for many years as well. So I had something, but even though I had that, I still felt that the interaction, the working with others was something very crucial that I was missing in my journey. And I really needed that to get back into the workforce. So for me, there was no compromise. I knew that I needed CJ. And honestly, that's why I'm here today. It was the best decision that I could have done. It wasn't easy,
Yeah.
I would just encourage everyone. I think the key to it is determination and to ask yourself, do you really want it? Do
Mm,
you really want it? Because even though I did have a sense of what design was, even though I had a sense of, technology and technology terms and different applications, I still found myself in those moments where I was like, wow, this is a different thing. This is hard, and I will go back and be like, I have a 4-year-old, and there was like so many excuses that I could give myself again to not follow through.
yeah.
Especially in CJ, you get to work with other people, just like in the workforce, you get to work with other team members, completing projects, and that can be challenging at times. It was challenging for me at times, but
Same.
right? Yeah, it was challenging. I was like, guys, because there's a group of people with various skill sets and different backgrounds, but you will find that in the workforce. And at the time, honestly, I did not understand that. But looking back, those main things that I struggle with through CJ are the ones that now have given me the boost
Yep.
in my job. A lot of the design solutions that I've had to implement are specific design solutions that we crafted within those teams with my colleagues. So even though at the moment I was frustrated, looking back, I was like, those problems that I faced are giving me the solutions now. So yeah, the big tips that I would give is determination, and ask yourself, how bad do you want it? Because those two things are the only things that you really need to take you through it. And if you go through it, definitely there will be your success factors later on.
Yeah, and that's definitely with everything, right? Like any kind of career change that you choose to go through, you need that determination and
Mm.
that want for it, because if not, then it's not like it's never going to be handed to you kind of
Yeah.
thing. Like you
Yeah.
have to
Have the
work hard.
hunger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, it never is. And you know, and sometimes I really feel that it comes down to that. Like, do you really want it? I was very blessed to see that a lot of my colleagues, they actually did end up getting a job offer right after. But honestly, they had the same approach. There were those hungry ones. We were the ones, it was midnight and we were still working on a project. It was those crazy projects, right? But then I remember some colleagues that they were really not around. They were not around for the meetings. They were just not there.
Mm.
And you know, I'm not sure what happened to them, but but those that I was able to share those moments of determination and those moments of perseverance, I have been able to see them succeed, as well as I. So I think that's a very gratifying feeling.
Yeah, and I know you guys both like answered this question before, but somebody wants to know more about how many months it took you to find a job. So if you want to start from once you completed your portfolio, around how long it took you. I think Imelda, you mentioned that it took you like 6 weeks after completing your portfolio.
Yeah, after completing my portfolio, it took me about 6 weeks to get my job offer. I got multiple, but once again, it wasn't because it just rained down from heaven.
Yeah.
I think that's really like they're like, wow, it's just because you're a software engineer. And no. I got tons of rejections, and
Mhm.
it was very saddening many times. But I literally, I applied to probably 600 or plus applications. So how I looked at it was, I'm going to apply every single day. And this is for me, every single person can have their own goal. CJ does it great in giving you like a goal, but I had to set my own goal. So I would wake up super early in the morning, right before anybody else would wake up, because I knew that as soon as they would be up, they were going to be applying. So my friends that I really cared about and enjoyed, we're all within the market, right? So I knew, you know what, I'm gonna be the first one waking up to apply. So I would apply from like 7, 8 in the morning all the way to like 5 p.m. sometimes, or that's how crazy it was. So with that being said, yes, it was a little bit fast, but that's just because, there was just many applications on the line.
Yeah, I think I would say mine was completely different. I was going through just like, I think it took me after I cleaned my portfolio with like the real world projects, I think it was like 4 months. And that's only because I was meeting that minimum, but because I was taking it so personal, all those rejections, that I needed like to just step away. And I found myself taking like a few breaks in between, because I would wake up and the first thing I would do is check my email. It would just be like rejection. I'm like, feel so discouraged. And I think what really helped was like leaning on the Avocademy like community, and like I made a ton of friends, and they were like, it's okay, like don't take it personal, like it's not towards you, like I get so many rejections also. But yeah, I think it took me around like 4 months, and that was because I was taking my time and kind of like not as like headstrong as I wanted it to be, but I definitely helped having that community, like I said. So yeah, like I say, around 4 months after completing the projects.
Gosh, I totally get you, like in so many ways.
Yeah.
Like for me, I'm not a designer, so I've never worked or looked for a job within design. But I remember graduating from college mid-pandemic and just applying to, I kid you not, hundreds of jobs. And it was rejection after rejection after
Yeah.
rejection. And I remember thinking to myself, like, what's wrong with me? What?
Exactly. I was
Doesn't
like,
anybody want me?
Yeah.
But you learn a lot from that too.
Oh yeah.
Because like I feel like especially during like an educational track, either if it's college, high school, if it's like throughout work experiences that you've had, like it never preps you for what that feels like. And
Mhm.
it happens to everybody with
Yeah.
any industry that you want to dive into. So I think I don't know. It's important to know that like that shouldn't discourage you. It should push you to be
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
next one will.
And
The
lean
next.
lean on your community and all your friends and family, because they honestly kept me going. Like Imelda, I think I did 700 applications. By the time I posted my win, I think I put down 700 applications, and I was just like looking at that number and I was like, I really did that. Like I stayed with it even though I had that many applications in, and then I still had, so many companies ghosting me, and on top of the rejection. So yeah, it was definitely tough, but like lean on the community. I would have to say that what kept me going for sure.
And
Yeah.
wanting it, you
And
wanted it
wanting it
too.
so bad. Yeah. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's pretty cool how you talk about the community, because that's pretty much what kept me going as well. The mentors, I had some amazing mentors
Yes.
at CJ. And of course, the founder being one, but definitely shout out. But I couldn't have done it without them as well, because me coming from being at home all the time and then having to push myself for, those just different professionalism kind of environment. I did doubt myself many times, and I felt very insecure of myself, as crazy as it may sound. Like I was like, oh my goodness, just like what you're saying, right? And I just felt like really, there was a time where I felt really low, and I had a mentor ask me like, why do you think so low of yourself? Like, why is that your mindset? And I hadn't, been able to recall it or call it out until she actually called it out. And I was like, you know what? I need to believe more in myself. So I think it's pretty neat how we're talking about this, because definitely a community and having those mentors, just someone speak life, just believing in you, where sometimes, at least I think there was a little phase where I was like, I don't believe in myself. But yet they were like, you can do this, you got it. Don't be intimidated. That's what kept me pushing as well. So yeah, very important.
Yeah, no, for sure. I feel like that's what made me fall in love with Avocademy and like dedicate like my time and effort into it. It's also because of that community, and I see I'm speaking to you guys now, and for the most part, like I started the process in a way because we had that first touch point, and it's like, oh my God, like the entire process, like it's just, I don't know, it's really rewarding, and you're literally making a change as a mentor by
Yeah.
providing that support every time. So somebody asked if you keep track of your job applications. I'm gonna answer that really quickly. So that is a requirement for Career Jumpstart to keep track of all of your job applications. It's just gonna help you overall stay organized, knowing like which ones are offering you a job and which ones rejected you and blah, blah, blah. It's just easier for you to manage that. I don't know if y'all have any comments in regards to that.
Are you guys still using Hunter?
I think so.
Yeah, I love that software. It's amazing. You literally, like when you apply, you have your applied, and then your next column is like interview 1, interview 2. So you can see the progress as it's going along, which is really, really nice. And it keeps track of, like Carla said, like of every single touch point from different companies. So when you go, if you do have a ton of interviews and you're going into one, you're not saying the wrong company's name or anything. So it keeps you aware of, because like we said, we're applying to hundreds of jobs, and at some point we're not going to be able to remember every single one, because for me, a lot of mine were like easy apply, and like, so it definitely helped. I love that software that we used during CJ.
Yeah, I personally loved it as well. I think that it's way better than any spreadsheet or anything like that. Yeah. So I loved it. After a certain amount though, I kind of like stopped, following through.
Towards the end, when it was like 700, when it was like 600, I was like, okay,
It's too much.
a lot. But
Oh
it's good
my
to have
God.
it there and have access to it all the time.
Yeah.
Like opening up my first morning, like seeing like Hunter, like my status of all my interviews and stuff. Like it's just good to see like a high level view of what's going on.
Yeah.
And also looking back to it, like, oh
Oh
my
yeah,
God, I applied to 700 jobs and
yeah,
like, damn, I made it, I got an
yeah.
offer. So it's also very rewarding to like stay organized and keep track of everything, because at the end of the day, like it'll show you all the hard work you put into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do y'all have any advice for someone that doesn't have a college background or has any tech background?
I have to think on that one.
Yeah, I do. I would say, how bad do you want it? And if you want it bad enough, it can happen. The only reason, yeah, you heard me mention about my software degree, but there again, I just happened to actually get that like when I was with my daughter at home, right before joining CJ. But prior to that, even going back to the whole software engineering part, it was me being a self learner and going after it. So gaining that understanding on my own. And I have a lot of friends that they don't have a background in tech, and they're within the field, so me being a first person, like the knowledge that I had, honestly, it just came on my own, and so much knowledge that I learned from you guys. Like, it's amazing where, at my job, I was hired on and I didn't know, the level. It was crazy the way that I got hired, because yeah, within those 6 periods, I did have like a lot of job offers, but turns out that they were all taking a very long time to give me a yes. So in between, that yes, I was like, wow, I was thinking they're not going to offer me anything. They're taking too long. Am I good enough? And they don't want me. All those thoughts were coming through my head, right? So long story short, the one that actually I ended up saying yes to, they gave me that job offer like within a 2-day period, which was crazy for me. Like, I was like, whoa, I've been interviewing so many different rounds with different companies, and you guys call me out of nowhere. A recruiter called me out of nowhere. I said yes. I did my first interview. Then 2 days later, they did my second interview, and right off the back, they were like, "You're hired." I was like, "What? This is like a dream come true." But anyways, basically what I do is that I am basically like a principal designer. So it's really up there, which I had no clue what I was getting myself into. To be quite frankly, I was I was really applying for something that really didn't require leadership, didn't require a lot of seniority in it. That's what I was aiming for. So I remember looking at this and saying, no way, Jose. Plus, they're not even going to give it to me. I'm not qualified at all. Turns out they actually gave me the offer. It was bananas to me. But I really didn't understand the complexity of my role until I really got in there and I understood, wow, okay, this is like beyond seniority. This is more like a principal designer, leadership design. I'm like, wow. So it was like, you can just imagine, right? Being a stay-at-home mom, being pushed back into the workforce, and I'm like into a leadership position. But long story short, I have been amazed of how many times I've been complimented of all the different skills that I've been able to offer, as far as like my research skills, a lot of the things that I've been able to incorporate, which I have learned through CJ.
Yeah.
So with that being said, it's just a lot of the things that I learned, it was not necessarily from my technical degree or anything like that, but it came through CJ. It came through me learning through the foundation courses on research and the different aspects of UX, UI design, and being complimented and saying, this is great. Like, basically, I'm one of the only ones that actually does it. I'm like, really? This is so cool. I was taught the right way.
Yeah, definitely. I think I would add to that is just don't be discouraged if you don't have tech background or a degree. I think the Avocademy course itself, I think you can really rely heavily on the course material and everything that's in there. It's constantly evolving. I'm a mentor now, so I've seen it change from when I was taking it, and it's just honestly like the updates and the changes have been nothing but like positive and beneficial to any student that's going to be coming in. Like, I'm even learning more, like, as I'm mentoring, like things that I didn't have when I was in the course is coming in handy now when I'm mentoring. So I honestly believe that you don't need to have that technical background or any background in tech or any degree. You have everything that you need in the course and the foundations as well as CJ.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we also have so many different backgrounds come in. Like I'm like I said before, that first touch point, and I talk to people with so many different backgrounds, those with college degrees, the ones that don't, the ones with masters, PhDs, you name it. Like I've seen it all. And honestly, it's like what both of y'all said is first leveraging the background no matter what it is on. So either if it's in customer service or if it's in the healthcare field or if it's in education, leveraging that and then also wanting it, right? Like wanting it so much that like you learn the material, you book Zoom calls with mentors, you're there one-on-one, trying to work on yourself, make yourself a better designer, work on your portfolio, practice those interviews, and then it'll happen. The majority of companies will not really take a look at where you got your education from, but your portfolio and the way you distribute the solutions that you found within each project that you worked on. So that is something that I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
Let me see. Okay, so do you have to do the design challenge to get into Career Jumpstart? I'll answer that. Yes, you do have to complete a design challenge and turn in a portfolio that has at least one case study and showcases end-to-end process in UX research, UX design, and UI design to be accepted into Career Jumpstart. Something that I do want to say, because I did a lot of portfolio reviews in the past, is make sure that the designs are up to industry standards. Very, very important. If you need help with that, you can either join foundations. If you don't want to join foundations, then you can go to YouTube and find industry standard designs for UX and UI design. Does Avocademy prep you with the interviewing process when it comes to companies reaching out?
Yes.
Yes.
They're there with you every step of the
They
way.
do.
Trust me. If I
Yeah.
didn't, I wouldn't have been. I'm already shy. I'm already like introvert as it is. Like it took me a while to finally get comfortable speaking. But I think scheduling mentor like one-on-ones to practice, as well as again leading into the community. I had a ton of friends that I made in CJ where, you know, they reach out to me and be like, hey, I need to practice for this interview that I'm having. And I'm like, hey, can I practice on you as well? Because I have an interview coming up. So yeah, definitely they guide you. They have everything step by step, how to kind of like navigate through the interview process.
Yeah, I agree. It was my mentors that really, there was one mentor that, wow, she made such a big difference. It was when I was feeling low, it's that one mentor that I kept telling you, like every single time that I was, it's just to her. She's like, why do you always think? Definitely, they were they made the difference for me.
Yes.
So yeah, they walk you through it.
Do any of y'all have a bird? Because I keep hearing like a bird trimming. So no.
Actually, there is a little bird here. So sorry.
Really? No, it's okay. I just kept hearing it and I was like, wait, is it me? Like what where's that coming from? So that's why I
No, I'm
thought
so
to
sorry.
bring it
There
up.
is a little bird.
That is so cute. You own a little bird?
Actually, it's my mother-in-law's. It's not mine.
Aw, that's so cute though.
That's a cool
Sorry,
thing. Sorry, that's a cool thing about working remotely, that it's like your office space is like wherever you go, right? So I had a doctor's appointment. Going back to the flexibility, I'm super thankful for that because I do have a 4-year-old. So yes, I work today, but I was able to accommodate my work schedule with doctor's office and then coming here to my in-laws to be able to do this panel. So there's a lot of flexibility there. So just want to throw that in there just because this is my office right now.
No worries. It's so good. Okay, so another question that I did get is which companies do you work for and how many hours per week do you work? So just disclaimer before y'all answer that, we only help with full-time positions when you go into Career Jumpstart. So it'll be your typical 40 hours a week. That's what you're accepting the offer for. But I'm guessing like depending on the demand of work, then it kind of changes a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I work 40 hours a week is my scheduled or what's I'm allotted to do every single week. I work for Mastercam. It's a software manufacturing company. So I work on designing or making a better user experience for the software. So like engineers can go in and like build parts. I heard we build parts for like SpaceX, for like, well, NASA and like hospitals, and it could be as small as like kitchen equipment. Like I haven't seen it yet, but I actually like use the software to make this little heart mold. So like the software that's designed to make this, I designed basically. I work 40 hours a week, but like my schedule is pretty flexible, which is really nice. And my manager's really like, if I'm not feeling up to like Monday, if like I just not feeling up to it, I can just put in time and then she'll approve it right away. So I'm very flexible in that. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, I work for Unum. They're very huge. Sorry, I'm charging my computer. It's a very big worldwide insurance company. So the specific product, I'm actually working in 3 different products with them right now that actually offers a lot of administration solutions for employers. And yeah, so I work, honestly, I have to get better at that. You did hear me mention earlier that my role is more or less a principal role in leadership, which in result, many times I do actually end up working overtime. So trying to still kind of like, work around life balance, work balance. So getting adjusted to that whole thing. But yeah, it's exciting, and I love what I do.
That's awesome. And somebody's asking about, okay, so this question is written a little different. So it says, did you feel inferior during Career Jumpstart? And then the other question that follows is, when working with designers in the workplace. So I'm guessing they mean like when you work with real clients, and the collaboration, but it's not really with designers that you're collaborating with, is with other students. So everybody's like kind of learning
the
at the
same
same
level.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you also have mentors to support you throughout that period as well. So I don't think there's well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't feel like there should be a period where you feel inferior, because everybody's like at the same level and you have like that designer on top kind of like looking over you and supporting you in case you don't understand something, or you also get access to the foundations course if you ever want to go back and like review something that you forgot. So I don't think the word would be inferior, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I
no, I
think-
definitely did not.
Yeah, definitely not inferior. I think that one of the things that, sometimes we might encounter, just like in the workforce, is it's not really inferiority, but because we're working in different projects as a team, one person might.
Was it just me or did she cut off?
No, yeah, she
Okay.
did. Yeah. I don't want to like move on to the next question. I feel like that's kind of rude. Move on to the next question. Okay.
Okay.
Society is telling me to move on to the next question. Okay, awesome. So for the next question, did employers you interview with ask for references? Are you able to use mentors, fellow students, and Avocademy staff as references when you are applying for positions?
Yeah. So whenever I got asked for references in the course, it actually, or in the CJ course, they actually, I think, have it somewhere where you can use, I forgot who it was. I think it was Alex. Alex as a reference, or Maka actually. And they said that they would be more than happy to be added as a reference. So that definitely helped.
By the way, Maga's our CEO and founder, and Alex is our CFO, COO, and co-founder. They're both mentors too as well. They'll help you out with everything that you need, and you can access them on Slack.
Yeah,
They are. They're pretty cool. Okay, so did you stay connected with your Avo peers throughout the process? I know you did bring this up a little bit before, because you made a lot of friendships throughout the community.
Yeah, I definitely did. And I think the CJ calls, if those are still happening, is where I kind of met a lot of those peers and a lot of those colleagues and friends, because they were like a update session, but it was also like a venting session, right? Like we were able to like vent our concerns, our stressors, or like what's going on with us. And actually, I would voice a lot about like the hard times that I was going through. And I would get people that message me on Slack and be like, hey, I know you're going through this, but stay strong. I'm here if you need me. And that's kind of how those friendships blossomed. So then I kind of wanted to pay that forward as well. So as I was going through the course and I had more experience and I noticed people were like kind of struggling, I would also be like, hey, I heard you're struggling. If you need help with anything, then I'm here for you as well. So just kind of paying it forward. So
That's awesome. I love that. And hi, Imelda, you're back.
Yes, sorry guys. Everyone just went blank on my screen and then I had to reconnect.
I was like, okay, I guess we're moving on, but it's all good, no worries. Alrighty, so this question has to do with salary ranges. If you do not want to share, you don't have to. You can give a range just in case in regards to like where you kind of lie or lay in between salaries. I'm bilingual, okay?
yeah. It's okay.
But yeah, so what your currently salary ranges are now that you work as a UX designer?
Yeah, I can go first. So my position is like the one, like the base level UX designer 1. So this is like beginner level, base salary 65.5, and then I get a 10% bonus. So my total comp is like 72.50 or something, or 72.5.
That's good. Awesome.
Yeah. Mine is bananas.
Well, you are the principal designer, so it makes sense.
Yeah. No, yeah. Well, I wasn't hired as a principal, but my role now that I'm in it is basically that's what I do. But it was as a senior UX designer, and my range, yeah, my range, it's between, I would just give a range out there. It's between 140 and 180.
Nice.
I don't know, that's a
Wow.
pretty large, but range, but it was definitely, this is why I'm here, because once again, I really feel truly indebted to CJ. Shout out to the founder
Yeah.
again. But
Like Maka, wherever
Yeah.
you are.
I know.
Surprise guest.
That was our lover. But seriously, OMG. And I just really can't stress that enough. Even after me graduating, after my I was going through the whole interviews. I remember my first week being there, I felt I was gonna have a meltdown. I was like, OMG, what did I get myself into? Because it happened super fast, as I shared. I really wasn't going for like a super, high level position, but the way how it happened, he contacted me, he said yes. I was like, sure, let's go for it, right? But then I'm in there and I'm like, wow, this is like the real thing. This is like something very big that they're expecting from me. I had my first problem to solve and I knew how to solve it, but I felt so stressed out, honestly, and I felt like super overwhelmed just because of so many new things happening to me, that I reached out to the founder. And shout out again. The struggle can be real sometimes, and I don't think you can find that elsewhere. So not only the community, the mentors, but just knowing that, the person behind all of this, how they actually planned the program to really want to see you succeed, like it just takes some little bit of extra time out of their schedule to answer any questions. That right there meant like the world for me. So yeah, real story.
It's definitely a very active community, and I see it from like the back end of things, right? Because like I am not super in touch within Foundations and Career Jumpstart of in itself, but it's just the amount of passion that all of us have literally here at the headquarters to see your students succeed. It's just amazing. And like I said, that's what keeps me here, and that's what drives me to be better every single day, is just to keep providing that support that people need, especially in these tough times after COVID and everything. Like we're still kind of recovering from it. So we need that support and somebody to keep us accountable as well.
Yeah.
So I will be going through a couple, sorry if I'm like just randomly putting in my opinions, but you know.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna be answering some of these questions fairly fast because we only have a couple minutes left. Let me see. So what applications of program did you use to become fluent before using it? Okay, so one of the questions is like what programs of softwares you became fluent with when going through Avocademy. So I'll tell you really fast. You become super fluent in Figma. Figma and Miro are the top two softwares that you'll be using throughout the entire course, Foundations and Career Jumpstart. We teach you 5 in total. So we teach you Figma, Adobe XD, Sketch, Miro, and InVision. Like I said, the 2 that you'll be using, they're going to be your best friends, Figma and Miro, even though Figma has FigJam. So you don't really need Miro, but no. Okay, so out of the 700 applications that y'all submitted, how many offers did you receive?
I got one.
1. Awesome. And Imelda, you said you got a couple, right?
Yeah, I did. I think I got either 5 or 6. I don't remember. But they all happened like it was just a process. It takes a process, right? So
Yeah.
they were all, it was crazy because they all came in right after I got this offer where I'm at right now. So I didn't really get to be like, yeah, I want this one. I don't want this one because I didn't even know I was going to get them. So I said yes to this one, which was the one that it was, you know, it was the best option anyways. But then soon after, that's when the other ones came in. So yeah.
It usually happens when you accept one, then the other ones start
Yeah.
flowing in, and it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But okay, so what are the new changes that we've made within the Academy? So you'll have to check that out. There's been so many changes that I can't really go into depth about because you won't know the difference between the old foundations to the new foundations, the old Career Jumpstart and the new Career Jumpstart. Let me see. So I do apologize. So remote opportunities. They're only interested in hearing about remote opportunities. I think both of y'all work remotely, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that the majority of job opportunities within UX and UI design are fully remote. The only people that I know of that have gotten in person or hybrid positions were because they chose it that way. They wanted to learn in person or hybrid, but there's so many different opportunities that are fully remote. What kind of perks, bonus, healthcare benefits do you get in this field? Do you get all of it? I'm just like trying to go through them as fast as possible. Okay, so do you guys supplement any of your UX UI learning outside of Avocademy, or only learn through Avocademy?
Yeah, I actually my job offers a continuous education stipend, which I actually use to get into the master classes here at Avocademy. So I'm actually continuing my education through Avocademy's master classes.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Plug
and I
in.
love-
Yay. That is so cool. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. I think
no, go
that-
for
yeah.
it. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that in this field is ongoing. You never stop learning. Things are always changing. So yeah, I always continue reading about it. Continue. I have to come back to the master classes, but yeah.
The master classes are great and they're also changing a lot. We're adding so many new different
Subjects.
courses into it. So I'm like, I want to check them out. I'm like, oh my God, they're so cool. So yes, so this will be recorded and we're gonna upload it to YouTube. We have so many other grad panels in there. Can you enroll in Career Jumpstart only to help you build your UX and Janice, if you want to email me or book a Zoom call with me, I'll send the link down below so we can chat more about that. I'm more than happy to do that. Do you have any accessibility requirements for deaf people? Yes, we do. So all of our videos have closed captions. Our Zoom calls have closed captions. So we're very inclusive and we have a lot of accessibility within our platforms. So we have so many questions, so I won't be able to get through all of them. So if y'all want to book a Zoom call with the team, feel free to use the link down below that Sari just dropped. We also dropped a coupon code for $200 off. And then the last question for y'all, I'm sorry, I was trying to like get through all of it, but then I realized there's a lot. So the last question is, if you have any advice to somebody that wants to change careers into UX and UI design, what would it be?
I'll let you go first.
I think I was actually going to touch on what you've mentioned throughout this panel is, if you really feel that hunger to switch over, and if you feel that this panel has given you the information that you need to kind of make that switch, I can give you 100% confidence by saying that you'll have support, you have the community, you have everything you need in the course to take you from start to finish. I never felt alone during this course. Even when I did isolate myself, people still reached out to me. So just trust in yourself and trust in kind of your gut, and yeah, everything will be kind of there for you.
Yeah, I think the same thing is, how bad do you want it? Like, do you really want a career change? And if you do, just go for it. I think that the worst thing we can do in life is just want something and not do it, and then years later say, only if I would have, like,
Yeah.
only if I would have done it. I hate saying the what ifs, So if you really want it, and I would just say go for it. That's what I did. And it has been one of the best decisions of my life, which is why I'm here and looking forward to always sticking to the family.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. And mine would be, if you have more questions or doubts about UX and UI design, book a Zoom call with me, and I'd love to keep chatting with all of y'all. Also, thank you both so much for joining this grad panel. It was such a pleasure chatting with both of y'all. If y'all need anything, Slack me. I'm always super happy to help. But it was really nice chatting. I hope you have an incredible rest of your day. And Josh, I know you have to get back to work because you're in your lunch break.
Yes.
Thank you
Awesome.
guys.
it.
Thank you
Bye.
all for joining us. If you have more
Bye.
questions,
Bye,
schedule a
everyone.
Zoom call. Bye.
Bye.